Let's see, additional setup pieces. We're going to go talk about unit of measures now. And again, jumping back over to items, going through item setup and looking at how we handle items. These are my different unit of measures. So for us, a unit of measure is more than just a label. We do handle true unit of measure conversions within SalesPad Cloud. It's something that is not supported at all within QuickBooks. It is all handled within Cloud, or at least QuickBooks Online. So we handle all of that within Cloud. You can set up, we have, essentially the concept is you have a base unit of measure, and then from that you have any additional unit of measures that have some type of conversion factor. It may be a one-to-one conversion factor, or when you get into things like cases and pallets and where you start with an each, your each is a 1, and then your case may be 12. And so then that would be your conversion factor, is that a case is 12 eaches. So we'll walk through the setup of a unit of measure. There's two pieces to a unit of measure. I have my unit of measure type, and then within that unit of measure type, I have unit of measure. And so I can go through and define multiple unit of measure types. When you set up an item, you are specifying the unit of measure type that you are using on that unit of measure, or on that item. Once you have specified the type, you can then set a sales and purchasing unit of measure specific to that item. We can also do that as part of our unit of measure setup, and so then it would use those as defaults when we assign that unit of measure type to an item. So in this case, I have my each. I have multiple different unit of measures within that unit of measure type, and then if you'll notice, if I click on the different types, my right screen changes, or my right menu, the unit of measures change on the right hand side. So I'm going to go back to each. I have my each. This is my base. So I have a unit of measure type name each. I have a unit of measure name each. So I can give it a description. I can specify what the base unit of measure is within this type. In this case, it is each. I can then also specify a default selling unit of measure for this unit of measure type, a default purchasing unit of measure, and then we also do a default shipping unit of measure. Again, currently that's for future functionality. We have an abbreviation. So you can use either EA, or in this case I've typed in EA, or I can actually use each spelled out as the unit of measure on an item. And then we have the inactive checkbox. Because this is the base unit of measure, we have a unit of measure conversion of 1. And this specifies that this is my base unit of measure. If I look at my 10 count box, again, unit of measure is the type. I then have my unit of measure conversion, which is 10 count box. I say that that is 10, and I have my abbreviation specific to that unit of measure type. So this upper section is defining the unit of measure type. The bottom section is individual unit of measures within that unit of measure type. So if I need to add a new unit of measure within this type, again, I have each selected on the far left. I add a new unit of measure type, and so I may call this a pallet. And so actually we're going to just make this a different, again, cigars come in different size boxes, so this is going to be a 30 count box. My conversion factor is 30. And again, the conversion factor is always based off of your base. How many of your base unit of measure exist in this unit of measure? So there are 30 eaches within a 30 count box. And then I can specify an abbreviation. Again, I don't have to do that. It's not a required field. So you'll see that adds a unit of measure here in this drop down, or this list, and that's part of this new unit, or the unit of measure type of each. So again, you define your base. Typically you're going to set up your base first. In this case I set up each, and then I can create any additional unit of measures off that base. I can also go smaller than each. Typically our recommendation is that your base unit of measure be the smallest unit of measure that you use, but there are some scenarios in the case of like if you're doing any type of processing with baking or food items, you may have other unit of measures. So you may want to stock in 50-pound bags, but let's say you're using these items that are part of this unit of measure type within an assembly you're going to sell cookies. And so I stock my flour in 50-pound bags, but I consume it by the ounce. So 50 pounds would be my base, ounce would be 0.0625 of my base. So, and base in this case is pound. I'm actually stocking it by pound. So again, you can go unit of measures above your base. You can create unit of measures below your base. And we will handle that conversion factor or that conversion for you.